Well, thanks a lot. Good evening. Welcome to the news on this, the 7th or 8th or something like of April or May. Before the main news, I would like to invite everyone who is interested in placing their money somewhere besides under the bed or in a stripper's garter to stay tuned when we go to the financial part of the program after the main news. We have a special guest here in the studio live, Professor Weswell, you may have heard of from urban planning from the city of Florence, will be here, and he is revealing here in America this week his new plans is going to revolutionize, he says, sewer disposals. As you may have heard, he is, as Dr. Weswell, who has developed a process wherein human excrement is taken from an analog form and turned into a digital information. Many people expect this is going to absolutely revolutionize the sewer industry, and the savings to municipalities is projected to be enormous, and therefore, of course, there's a great opportunity for investment. That's what I was told. And now the news. On this, the 8th or 9th of June, I think. One man went hunting for a mythical creature, but it being mythical, he never found it. Now I want to make it clear, he went seriously looking for it. Just because it was mythical didn't stop him from literally searching for it. He went looking for it, and he was serious. And when he didn't find it, he was serious about that too. He was upset, disappointed, and discouraged over not finding a mythical creature. And I mean, he was seriously upset, disappointed, and discouraged. And don't ask me, I promise not to give out his name. And now this program reminder. I'm still, as always, talking about the mind and your belief in a you. Now on to the weather forecast and other more unbelievable stuff. A stranger in the stranger business noted, in the sense as applicable here, you have no energy unless it is concentrated and focused. What a business. A business whose slogan is, business is our only progress. Brief course reviews. Public Speaking 101. If people are conscious only by their thoughts, you can talk to them and make them feel either good or bad. Public Speaking 201. If people can get past being conscious only by their thoughts, and they will still listen to you, you can still run them around in mad dog circles. Public Speaking 301. If people can stop being conscious only by their thoughts and also quit paying any attention to other people, then you best pick another subject to major in. Daddy, is he still talking about the mind no matter what it sounds like? That's what he claims, son. Is there some way we can be sure? Probably so, but I figure if you could tell that right off, you wouldn't be concerned with it anyhow. Huh. You know, that makes sense to me. It does? Be a big brother, or at least a father or son to yourself. One stranger taught a travel course which directed those interested to a split in the road that most believed was headed toward great change and new understanding, at which point you could attempt to achieve either by sticking yourself in the eye or by running at yourself with your eye as forcefully as possible. In either case, you're protected, according to the stranger's brochure, in that you'll be in a jurisdiction wherein suicide by one Siamese twin is not in fact considered to be the actual death of another. When he was a child, his mother pinned a name tag on him that said, "I am Johnny." Then when he was older, his community affixed a note to him that declared, "You are responsible." Then after he began to study himself from a certain view, he pinned a note on himself that read, "I am an idiot, but trying to do better." And after more time passed, he changed the tag on him to state simply, "I am an idiot." Then, after many years had gone by, the next time he was seen, he was wearing a note pinned to him which said, "I am Johnny." Bullets aren't the only things that go in a straight line, and their trajectory is more illusion than fact, if you take into account the curvature of the human mind and the immeasurable which it attempts to track. A stranger came to town representing himself as a blues-singing duo whose featured number was, "I'm going away to leave you, no I'm not," which never failed to leave audiences breathless and beside themselves. Tonight's big but. One man could be here yesterday, he could be here tomorrow, but when he was grown and the time came for him to be refitted for perspective devices, a father told his son, "You can either look through here or look through there." Due to things being as they are, most people never see what's right in front of them. When he rotated his tires, this is what he found written on the brake drums: "A man stuffed with the ideas of others is too full to think." And one man presents this inquiry: if what we are and our interest in what we are not one and the same, then tell me, just tell me, what sense can you make of any of it? And now from our department of, if you know what I mean, it's not really that extreme. If anything means enough to you to such an extent that it means something to you, it means too much to you. A quick survey of the numbers system. 1. Hear the radio. 2. Become familiar with all its programs. 3. Try and become selective in your listening. 4. Failing that, attempt to turn it off. 5. Failing that also, try to at least turn it down. 6. Failing that too, return to step 4 and turn the damn thing off. Weak people say it's not possible. And for a long time, so do the strong. But the number system doesn't lie. Unless you listen to it. One man was twice as smart as he really was, but only when he was not at home twice as much as he should have been. And only those at home the proper amount of time will understand this. And one chap pondered, if metaphors are medicine for a sickness, what do you get when you get well? God, what a loaded and potentially dazzling question. And even though he doesn't realize it, I'm still almost tempted to answer him. A man once went to study with a great teacher, and at first received instructions 20 hours a day, then 20, then 15, then 10, then 5, then 1, and finally the man had to ask his mind if it was in fact ever going to talk to him again. Yeah, don't you wish? And a stranger came to town dressed as a country singer, whose featured song was, "Don't come home a-thinking with thinking on your mind, which never failed to leave audiences slightly bewildered, but even more delighted. It must be in fairyland or else in the head of another stranger. One man asked himself, what in the human experience is similar to glue? Ah, thoughts. And his thoughts said, feelings too. But the man recognized that he was correct in his original single selection. Drat, muttered thoughts sub rosa. Question, if you don't let flies light on you, is that not the same as having no flies? Yes, we're still talking about the mind. One man took up boxing and quickly went from sparring with actual opponents to simply shadow boxing with himself. And soon he could beat up on himself quite smartly, but eventually realized a surprising fact. No matter how savagely he attacked himself, and no matter how decisively he appeared to win at the moment, no victory was ever complete and final as was possible in matches against other people. Daddy, I know this sounds like sports news, but is he? Yes, son. Still talking about men's thought-based sensation of themselves. One man so pondered, is it worse to be drunk and act like a drunk, or be sober and still act like a drunk? Daddy, is he? Yep. Although no superhero he, this one man could still be here 1 second and gone the next. A man asked a stranger, is the inner problem with which I seem to be struggling really the mind? We can be more precise, replied the stranger, and say that it is the verbal conscious mind. And at a future date, the man did indeed feel from this more precise. There are streams and rivers and underground streams and rivers. There are streams and rivers, and there is evaporation, clouds, and rainfall. There is also, you might note, salt, pepper, ketchup, and mustard, and also a little of this and a little of that. What more can you ask for? One guy says, both sides of my brain need their own name. So he calls the two big-time jiver and small-time conniver. And now this item from our redundant tip department. If you think that you want to travel to a certain place, but can't seem to find the energy to actually undertake the trip, get you a brochure about the place. And every time you feel the urge to go, just pick it up and begin reading. And this is especially effective in handling guilt you may feel in not attempting the journey. Well, hey, I admitted up front that the info was going to be superfluous. Daddy, I thought the man said he'd be talking about nothing but the mind and the man's thinking of himself. Well, son, I don't see him lying yet. Maybe you're listening with the incorrect ears. Yeah, I guess you got me again, hearing with the wrong mics, looking through the wrong lenses. To comprehend the nature of the mind, you can start by considering this. Mind's not out there. Mind's not in here. Mind, dear Beatrice, is everywhere. Does this hold true if my name's Grunwald? One man asked everyone he met the same question. How do you recognize yourself? How do you know that it's you? Ignoring. Yes, sir, said a mystic. Ignoring's a lot of what a person's got to do in this line of work. One man stayed home alone. Well, we can be more exact than that. One man tried to stay home alone. What more can you ask for? What more? What more? I'll tell you what more you can ask for. Success, damn it! Or in the alternative, a realization that the attempt, as perceived, is futile in that it is already an unotherwise fait accompli. When you die, you do not go to heaven or hell, but rather to a stripping facility whereat you are finally relieved of that disturbing coat of shellac. Daddy, is that really true? No. Are you sure? No, but even if it is, what use is it? The head of the crematorium delivered this exposition. There is no afterlife if you're still talking to yourself. The lilies and the tulips surrounding the place knew this in advance. Off went one man on a grand adventure in search of a miraculous treasure. But what he didn't know was that part of the treasure's nature was to cause men to believe that they had discovered it only when they were pleased with what they had discovered. But this was not in fact the true complete treasure. So, I guess it's back to square one, said the man. No, not quite that. Not quite any one thing, in fact. This treasure was the model for Medusa. To believe that half a loaf is better than none is to identify oneself as half-wit. Sight fully covered. Headline. You can see with your hands, you can see with your eyes, and you can see with your mind, but that's not the limit of it. One man stopped and said, okay, I got to think about this. If what's inside me is the same as what's in me, then after some years of trial and error, and I'm not too sure, one man's present approach he describes as pulling yourself together. No, I mean for real. The phone rang. The man answered it. A voice asked, "Are you alone?" And the man replied, "Hey, is this life making one of those prank calls?" The latest phrase to achieve most favored status in one man's mind is, quoting, "It's highly likely, or at least quite possible." But he adds, notwithstanding that, you still should never paint the insides of your thighs orange. There is nothing noteworthy in being, as Savians call it, a liar, once you realize that the misstatement of how things are is a natural function of speech. Gentlemen, open your mouths and let the race begin. That's funny in North Carolina. Well, in the mystical areas of North Carolina, I should point out, and parts of Alabama. I knew I was wasting my time reading such news in places like here in Manhattan. On one planet, the talking creatures had tales about their forefathers having swallowed another creature. Only those creatures who felt they had done so believed the stories. Daddy, is that what you call justice? With a capital just, my boy, and an ICE. Another way to describe the distinction between the many and the few is that the few don't cling to themselves. Maybe it's the static, maybe it's not. In the land of the mind, it's only the dead who never object. Daddy, when I grow up, can I be dead? If you live right, you can. Daddy? Yes, what is it now? I suppose this means I should live somewhere other than the mind. How things are, headline, how things are on one world. You can step on a tack and holler. Or you can step on a tack and write a poem about it. Or you can step on a tack and derive some allegorical moral from it. Or, if you really wise up, start avoiding the tack. Daddy? Yes, son. How come the FCC allows him to claim he's going to talk only about the mind and man's thoughtful conception of himself, and then goes right ahead and discusses feet? Son? Yes, Daddy? Shut the hell up. And finally, high up in some mountains, not close to anything, was once a monastery-looking place which the locals knew by the name of... Nothing much changes, do it?